एक ले जाने की बैठ जाओ, वहाँ पे मैट है। हाँ बैठ जाओ। उस तरफ कौन जा रहा है? कौन है? भगवान प्रैक्टिस इज नॉट डूबल। And everyone to come and enlighten us with new words. Everyone, let's start today's session. Everybody sit straight. सभी लोग सीधे बैठेंगे. गर्दन एकदम सीधी. आंखें बंद और चेहरे पर हल्की सी मुस्कान. दोनों हाथों को अपने घुटनों पर आराम दें. लंबा गहरा सांस लेंगे. सांस को धीरे धीरे बाहर छोड़ें. Inhale, exhale. पूरा ध्यान अपनी सांसों पर. इंद्रियों को आपस में जोड़ लें. स्कार मुद्रा. लंबा गहरा inhale, अपनी दोनों हथेलियों को आपस में रगड़ें. रब योर palms together. हाथों का कप बनाते हुए अपनी आंखों के ऊपर रखें. हल्का स्पर्श अपने पूरे चेहरे को देंगे. Gentle touch to your whole face. और धीरे से अपनी आंखें खोलें. सभी लोग अपने मैट के ऊपर खड़े हो जाएं. Come to standing स्थिति. Both legs together. Hands by the side of your body. दोनों पांव आपस में जुड़े हुए. हाथ अपने शरीर के साइड में. अभ्यास करेंगे हम गर्दन का. पैरों में हल्की सी दूरी रखेंगे. दोनों हाथ आपकी कमर पर. सांस लेते हुए गर्दन को पीछे की तरफ लेके जाएं. सांस छोड़ते हुए गर्दन आगे. आपकी घुटने को आपकी छाती के साथ लगाएं. सांस लेते हुए पीछे. सांस छोड़ते हुए आगे. लेते हुए पीछे. सांस छोड़ते हुए आगे. धीरे से आपकी गर्दन बीच में. Bring your neck back to normal. अभ्यास करेंगे हम साइड बेंडिंग का. सांस लेते हुए गर्दन बीच में. सांस छोड़ते हुए अपनी गर्दन को दाईं तरफ झुकाएं. सांस लेते हुए बीच में. सांस छोड़ते हुए बाईं तरफ. सांस लेते हुए बीच में. दाईं तरफ. Inhale center, exhale left. Inhale center, exhale right. इनहेल सेंटर, एक्सेल लेफ्ट। धीरे से गर्दन बीच में। अभ्यास करेंगे हम नेक ट्विस्टिंग का। सांस लेते हुए गर्दन बीच में, सांस छोड़ते हुए अपनी गर्दन को घुमाएं दाईं तरफ। लुक एट टू योर राइट। सांस लेते हुए बीच में, सांस छोड़ते हुए बाईं तरफ। सांस लेते हुए बीच में, सांस छोड़ते हुए बाईं तरफ। इनहेल सेंटर, एक्सेल राइट। इनहेल सेंटर, एक्सेल लेफ्ट। धीरे से गर्दन बीच में। अभ्यास करेंगे हम गर्दन घुमाने का, नेक रोटेशन। आप सभी अपनी गर्दन आगे की तरफ झुकाएं और दाईं तरफ से शुरू करते हुए अपनी गर्दन को घुमाएंगे। फ्रॉम द राइट, बैक, लेफ्ट, फ्रंट, राइट, बैक, लेफ्ट, फ्रंट, राइट, बैक, लेफ्ट, फ्रंट। धीरे से गर्दन नीचे। अभ्यास उल्टी दिशा में, विपरीत दिशा में हम अभ्यास करेंगे। फ्रॉम द लेफ्ट, लेफ्ट, बैक, राइट, फ्रंट, लेफ्ट, बैक, राइट, फ्रंट, लेफ्ट, बैक, राइट, फ्रंट। धीरे से गर्दन बीच में। दोनों हाथों को अपने शरीर के साइड में लेकर आए, दोनों हाथ नीचे। अभ्यास करेंगे हम शोल्डर स्ट्रेच का। दोनों पाँव को आपस में जोड़ लीजिए। दोनों हाथ आपकी टांगों के साइड में लगे रहेंगे। सांस लेते हुए अपने दोनों हाथों को साइड से कंधों के बराबर सीधा ऊपर लेके जाएंगे। हथेलियों का रुख बाहर की तरफ। योर palms will be outward. Inhale, straight your hands up. Give a complete stretch. Stretch your both shoulders up. Exhale, bring your hands down. Now, with the inhalation, take your hands at the shoulder level. Inhale, only till shoulder level. Exhale, turn your palms up. Exhale, fold your hands inward. Keep your hands on your shoulder. We'll go for shoulder rotation, but we'll start with the forward rotation. Normal breathing के साथ शुरू करेंगे. Forward rotation for 3 rounds. Front, 2, and 3. Now reverse. From backward, 3, 2, and 1. सांस छोड़ते हुए हाथ को सीधा कर लें। सांस छोड़ते हुए दोनों हाथों को नीचे लेकर आए। दोनों हाथों को अपनी टांगों के सामने रखेंगे। Both hands in front of your legs. सांस लेते हुए सामने से अपने हाथों को कंधों के बराबर लेकर आएंगे। दोनों हथेलियों का रुख एक दूसरे की तरफ। अभ्यास करेंगे हम कटी चालन का। सांस लेते हुए लंबा गहरा सांस लेंगे। सांस छोड़ते हुए आपके शरीर को, सिर्फ शरीर के ऊपरी हिस्से को दाईं तरफ घुमाएं। टर्न योर बॉडी टू द राइट साइड। Everyone to the right side. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Do not move your legs, only hands. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Inhale, center. Slowly drop your hands down. Now keep a slight gap between your feet, 1 to 2 inches apart. Make sure your feet are parallel to each other. Both hands in front of your legs. सांस लेते हुए अपने दोनों हाथों को अपने कंधों के बराबर सामने से ऊपर लेकर आए। सांस छोड़ते हुए अपने घुटनों में बढ़ेंगे और हाफ द वे डाउन, हाफ चेयर पोज हमने करना है। एक्सेल डाउन, इनहेल अप, exhale down, inhale up, exhale down, inhale up, slowly drop your hands down. पैरों के बीच में हल्की सी दूरी, आपके बाएं हाथ को दाएं हाथ से सामने की तरफ पकड़ लें। आंखें बंद और आराम करें। To the practice of using exercise, feel the change and relax yourself. Prepare yourself and your mind for the practice of asanas. आपके मन और चित्त को पूरा आराम दें. We'll start standing asanas alert. Join your both legs together. Hands by the side of your body, standing position. यहाँ से अभ्यास करेंगे सबसे पहले ताड़ासन का. दोनों हाथ अपने टांगों के सामने लेकर आए. सांस लेते हुए अपने हाथों को कंधों तक ऊपर उठाएंगे. Interlock your fingers, palms facing outward. Turn your palms outward. यहीं से सांस लेते हुए अपने हाथों को सीधा ऊपर लेकर जाएंगे. Inhale, stretch your hands up. Slowly raise your ankles up. Lift your heels up. आपकी नजर एक बिंदु पर. Look at the point in front of you to balance. Balance with the normal breathing. Exhale, drop your heels down. Exhale, bring your hands completely down from the front. Release your hands, hands by the side of your body. We are going to do next practice of Vrikshasana, tree pose. Both legs together, hands by the side of your body. Fold your right leg. Everyone, fold your right leg and keep it on the inner side of your left thigh. आपके दाएं पैर को मोड़ते हुए बाईं थाई के साइड में रखें. बैलेंस फर्स्ट. सभी अपने आप को यहाँ पर बैलेंस करेंगे. नजर एक बिंदु पर रहे ताकि आप अपने आप को बैलेंस कर सकें. जो लोग पूरी तरह पांव ऊपर नहीं लेके जा सकते वो अपना पांव घुटने पर रख लीजिए. नजर एक जगह रखेंगे तो बैलेंस कर पाएंगे. दोनों हाथ शरीर के साइड में. सांस लेते हुए दोनों हथेलियों को सीधा ऊपर लेकर जाएंगे एंड बैलेंस. स्टे हियर विद द नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग. वेल डन. Exhale, release your hands first. Slowly release your leg down. Same practice on the other side. Fold your left leg, अपने बाएं पैर को मोड़ें और दाएं घुटने पर रखें. बैलेंस. नजर एक बिंदु पर रहे. दोनों हाथ शरीर के साइड में. सांस लेते हुए दोनों हाथों को सीधा ऊपर लेकर जाएंगे. हथेलियां आपस में जुड़ी रहें. Stay here with the normal breathing. Balance yourself. It helps to improve your attention. Exhale, bring your hands down. Slowly bring your leg down. Both legs together, hands by the side of your body. We are going to practice Padmasana next practice. दोनों हाथों को सामने लेकर आएंगे, टांगों के सामने. सांस लेते हुए अपने दोनों हाथों को सीधा ऊपर उठाएं और कमर से हल्का सा पीछे की तरफ झुकेंगे. सांस छोड़ते हुए कमर से आगे की तरफ झुकें और कोशिश करें अपने हाथों को अपने पाँव के अंगूठे के साथ लगाने की. अगर किसी को कमर में दर्द है तो यह अभ्यास ना करें. आप जहां तक कर सकते हैं वहीं पर रुके रहें. बैलेंस योरसेल्फ. स्टे विद द नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग wherever you are. Take a deep breath and slowly come back again. Give a slight backward bend. हल्का सा पीछे की तरफ झुकेंगे. सांस छोड़ते हुए अपने दोनों हाथों को वापस लेकर आए. Both hands in front of your legs. दोनों पाँव में 1 से 2 इंच की दूरी रखेंगे. दोनों हाथ कमर पर, अंगूठा पीछे की तरफ, उंगलियां सामने की तरफ. अपनी उंगलियों को जितना पास में ला सकते हैं उतना अधिक पास में लाने की कोशिश करें. लंबा गहरा सांस लें. सांस छोड़ते हुए कमर से पीछे की तरफ झुकेंगे. अर्ध चक्रासन, हाफ व्हील पोज. सामान्य सांस के साथ रुकेंगे. सांस नहीं रोकना है. गर्दन को पीछे की तरफ ढीला छोड़ दें. सामान्य सांस के साथ रुके रहें. आप जहां तक कर सकते हैं वहीं पे करें. घुटने एकदम सीधे. धीरे से सांस छोड़ते हुए वापस आएंगे. स्लोली कम बैक. Drop your hands down. Relax yourself. धीरे से अपने नीचे बैठ जाएं. Everyone sit down. Fold your legs and sit down. Stretch your both legs in the front. दोनों पाँव सामने की तरफ. एकदम सीधी. यहीं से अभ्यास करेंगे हम भद्रासन का. अपने दोनों पाँव करेंगे और पाँव के तलवों को आपस में जोड़ लें. Drawing your both feet together, sole of the feet together. Interlock your fingers around your feet. अपने दोनों हाथों को अपने पाँव के आसपास इंटरलॉक कर लीजिए. कोशिश करें आपके घुटनों को जमीन पर लगाने की. नहीं लगते हैं तो जहां पर आप हैं वहीं पर रुके रहें. Force yourself. Back straight, neck straight, eyes closed. Slowly open your eyes. Hands first. Keep your slowly stretch your both legs in the front. दोनों पाँव सामने की तरफ सीधे कर लें. एक साइड में रहेंगे. यहीं से अभ्यास करेंगे. घुटनों में दर्द. वो लोग यह अभ्यास आपके आपकी मांसपेशियां पीठ की सभी एकदम स्ट्रेच. नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग. खोलेंगे. यही करेंगे अर्ध उष्ट्रासन. सभी लोग अपने घुटनों में खड़े हो जाएं. घुटनों के बीच में अपने कंधों के बराबर दूरी रखेंगे. अपने दोनों हाथों को अपनी कमर पर रखेंगे. जमीन पे. Keep your hands on your buttocks and your lower back. Try to bring your elbows. इधर आए. सांस छोड़ते हुए कमर से पीछे की तरफ झुकेंगे. गर्दन को पीछे नीला छोड़ दें. उतना ही झुके. सर्वाइकल का इशू है तो प्लीज प्रैक्टिस. अभ्यास करें. दोनों हाथों को सामने की तरफ लेकर आएंगे. सांस लेते हुए एक एक करके अपने हाथ को पीछे लेकर जाएंगे. एंड होल्ड योर एंकल. अपनी एड़ी को पकड़ने की कोशिश करें. कर सकते हैं. Try to do if you can. Don't force yourself and don't fall. Stay with the normal breathing wherever you are. If you cannot do, please do the half camel pose and stay. Exhale, slowly come back. Sit on your heels. अपने दोनों घुटनों में दूरी बना लें. Give a gap between your knees. Spread your knees as much as you can. दोनों हाथ सामने. लंबा गहरा सांस लेंगे और दोनों हाथों को ऊपर लेकर जाएं. पीछे की तरफ झुकें. आगे झुकें और कोशिश करें आपकी चेस्ट को जमीन पर लगाने की. शशांकासन. चाहिए lift your buttocks. Don't relax yourself completely here. Again, inhale and slowly come back. Exhale, drop your hands down. Again, घुटनों को जितना दूर कर सकते हैं उतना दूर रख के अभ्यास करें। सांस लेते हुए अपने दोनों हाथों को सीधा ऊपर लेकर जाएं, कंधों के बराबर, स्ट्रेट अप। अब आपने अपने बाएं हाथ को बाएं कंधे पर और दाएं हाथ को बाएं कंधे पर, अपोजिट शोल्डर्स पे, राइट हैंड ऑन द लेफ्ट शोल्डर, लेफ्ट ऑन द एंड स्टे देयर। आंखें बंद, फील द स्ट्रेच, स्टे विद द नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग। वेल डन। Slowly, with exhalation, release your hands one by one. Bring your knees. Take the support of your elbows and lie down on your stomach. Take the support of your elbows from the front and lie down on your stomach. Stretch your legs at the back. दोनों पाँव में रखेंगे एक दूसरे की तरफ, एड़ियों का रुख एक दूसरे की तरफ, हाथ आपके सामने, बायां हाथ दाएं हाथ पर, गर्दन किसी भी आरामदायक स्थिति में। यही से अभ्यास करेंगे हम भुजंगासन का। दोनों पाँव को आपस में जोड़ लें, ज्वाइन योर लेग्स टुगेदर, एड़ियां आपस में जुड़ी रहें। Hands side of your body. Keep your hands side of your chest. Keep your both hands side of your chest. सांस लेते हुए आप छाती पेट को नाभि तक ऊपर उठाएं। पूर्ण भुजंगासन, टहनियां शरीर के साथ लगी रहेंगी। टहनियों को ऊपर उठाएं और शरीर के ऊपर की तरफ देखें। कोशिश करें साथ में रहे, सामान्य सांस रहेंगे। नॉर्मल ब्रीदिंग। Exhale, go down, relax. धीरे से अपने दोनों हाथों को अपनी टांगों के नीचे रख लें। Keep your both hands below your thighs. Chin on the ground and forehead on the ground. Keep your both legs together. हाथ ऊपर उठाएंगे। अपनी ठोड़ी को जमीन से ना उठाएं, ठोड़ी और माथा जमीन पर रहे। सिर्फ अपने पाँव को ऊपर उठाना है और सामान्य सांस के साथ रुक रहे। Hold with the normal breathing. Exhale, down. Hands. Keep your hands below your chin. Both hands below your chin. एड़ियां एक दूसरे की तरफ, एड़ियों का रुख एक दूसरे की तरफ। आराम करेंगे मकरासन में। आपके शरीर में वो रंग देखते रहे, ध्यान आपकी सांसों और शरीर पर। Join legs together, hands by the side of your body. सभी लोग दाईं तरफ करवट लेते हुए पीठ के बल लेट जाएं। Turn to your right side and lie down on your back. Roll legs together. Hands by the side of your body. अगर किसी को कमर में दर्द है तो अपने दोनों हाथों को अपनी कमर के नीचे रख लें। दोनों हाथ कमर के नीचे अगर कमर में दर्द है, अदरवाइज हाथों को शरीर के साइड में रहने दें, हथेलियां जमीन पर लगी रहे। अभ्यास करेंगे उत्तान पादासन का। दोनों पैर आपस में जुड़े रहेंगे। लंबा गहरा सांस लें। Inhale and raise your both legs to the 30 degree. 30 degree to the ground. 30 डिग्री का कोण बनाते हुए दोनों पाँव को ऊपर उठाएं और सामान्य सांस के साथ रोके रहें। Hold with the normal breathing. Exhale, drop your legs down. यही से अभ्यास करेंगे अर्ध हल आसन का। सांस लेते हुए अपने दोनों पांवों को सीधा होकर लेकर आएंगे 90 डिग्री पर। जमीन के साथ 90 डिग्री का एंगल बनाना है। Inhale, lift your legs up. Don't lift your back up. Keep your back down. रुके रहेंगे सामान्य सांस के साथ। घुटने एकदम सीधे, पाँव को अपनी तरफ खींच के रखें ताकि आपके घुटने अपने आप सीधे हो जाएं। होल्ड होल्ड। एक्सेल, ड्रॉप योर लेग डाउन। यही से अभ्यास करेंगे पवनमुक्त आसन का। दोनों पाँव को घुटनों से मोड़ने। ब्रिंग क्लोजर टू चेस्ट। दोनों घुटनों को अपनी चेस्ट के पास लेकर आए। इंटरलॉक योर फिंगर्स अराउंड योर लेग्स। लंबा गैप। इनहेल, एक्सेल एंड टच योर फोरहेड टू योर नीज। लिफ्ट योर हेड अप। अगर किसी को गर्दन में दर्द है तो गर्दन को ना उठाएं। कीप योर नेक डाउन। सामान्य सांस के साथ रुके रहें। Exhale, head down. Release your hands. Bring your legs back. Keep both legs folded. Don't stretch it. Keep your leg folded. Keep your heels closer to your body. आपके heels शरीर के हल्की सी दूरी देंगे। Maintain distance between your feet. Ankles if you can. अपनी एड़ियों को अगर पकड़ सकते हैं, अदरवाइज अपने हथेलियों को जमीन पर रहने दें। अभ्यास करेंगे हम सेतु बंद आसन, ब्रिज पोज का। Inhale and lift your lower back up. अपनी कमर को ऊपर की तरफ धकेलें। Only your lower back and middle back. Inhale up. Maintain with the normal breathing. Well done. Stay. Exhale. Relax. Stretch your legs out. Legs apart, hands apart, arms facing forward. Relax your whole body on the ground. पाँव में दूरी, शरीर को पूरी तरह जमीन पर गिरा छोड़ दें। Stretch your whole body to toe, change and relax yourself. शरीर में कोई तनाव नहीं। Join your both legs together. Hands by the side. Take your right hand straight above your head on the ground. Right hand straight above your head. Bend it. Turn towards the right side. सर दाईं तरफ लग जाए और धीरे से उठकर बैठ जाए। Sit in any comfortable position. किसी भी सुखपूर्वक आसन में बैठे। कमर गर्दन सीधी, आंखें बंद, दोनों हाथ घुटनों पर। Your eyes gently closed. अभ्यास करेंगे हम कपालभाति क्रिया का। For the practice, दोनों हाथों को अपने घुटनों पर रख लीजिए। Both hands on. लंबा गहरा सांस लेंगे। सांस को छोड़ना है for 30 strokes. जो लोग पहली बार अभ्यास कर रहे हैं या बिगिनर्स हैं, they can keep their right hand on their stomach, so you can feel the flapping of your stomach. Keep your right hand on your stomach. Inhale deeply and start the practice. For 30 strokes, continuous exhalation, पूरा ध्यान forcefully सांस छोड़ने पर। किसी को अगर ब्लड प्रेशर में कोई रिसर्च सर्जरी करें। Anybody with hypertension, please do not practice. एक बार उनको देख लीजिए, पेट को फ्लैप करना है, मुंह से सांस लेनी। 30 स्ट्रोक्स कंप्लीट होने पर पूरी तरह सांस को बाहर छोड़ दें और बिल्कुल आराम से सांस भर लें। जेंटली इनहेल एंड एक्सहेल। Feel the change in your breathing. Inhale deeply. Exhale. अभ्यास करेंगे हम प्राणायाम का। अनुलोम विलोम प्राणायाम। आपके बाएं हाथ में चिन्ह मुद्रा बना लें। बाएं हाथ में लेफ्ट हैंड चिन्ह मुद्रा, राइट हैंड में नासिका मुद्रा बनाएंगे। अपने पहले हाथ की 2 उंगलियों को हथेली की तरफ मोड़ लें। लास्ट की 2 उंगलियों को सीधा रखेंगे। लंबा गहरा सांस लें। इनहेल और अंगूठे से अपने राइट नाक को बंद कर लें। क्लोज योर राइट नॉस्ट्रिल। एक्सेल कंप्लीटली थ्रू द लेफ्ट। इनहेल थ्रू द लेफ्ट। Close your left nostril. Exhale right. Inhale right. Exhale left. यहाँ पर एक राउंड कंप्लीट होता है। 2 और राउंड्स का अभ्यास करेंगे, 2 और चक्रों का अभ्यास। सांस लेने और छोड़ने, बिल्कुल सांस अंदर और धीरे धीरे सांस। तीन चक्रों का अभ्यास पूरा होने पर बाईं तरफ से सांस छोड़ते हुए अभ्यास को रोक दें। After completion of 3 rounds, exhale from the left and stop the practice. Relax yourself. Observe the breathing in your each nostril. अभ्यास करेंगे हम शीतली प्राणायाम का। कूलिंग प्राणायाम। आपकी जीभ को एक ट्यूब का आकार देना है। अगर किसी की जीभ फोल्ड नहीं होती है तो अपने लिप्स को एक ट्यूब की तरह बनाना है। फोल्ड योर टंग फ्रॉम द साइड्स। Inhale from the tongue. Close your mouth. Exhale from the nose. 2 more rounds. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Slowly stop the practice. Feel the coolness in your throat as you start. अगला अभ्यास हम करेंगे भ्रामरी प्राणायाम। टच योर टंग और हार्ड पैलेट। आपकी जीभ को अपने तालू के साथ लगा के रखें। सांस छोड़ते समय हमने भंवरे की आवाज निकालनी है। मुंह बंद रहेगा। अंगूठे से अपने कान बंद करें। आपकी पहली उंगली से अपनी आंखें बंद करें। सेकंड फिंगर ऑन योर नोज, लास्ट 2 fingers on your lips. Do not put any pressure. अपने फेस पे किसी तरह का कोई दबाव नहीं डालना है, सिर्फ हाथों को अपने फेस पर रखना है। लंबा सांस छोड़ते हुए भवरे की आवाज। धीरे से अपने हाथों को अपने घुटनों पर, drop your hands on your knees. Feel the vibration in your head region. Keep your eyes closed. Do not open your eyes. बंद रखें। आप अंदर की तरंगों को महसूस करें। आपके अंदर हुए परिवर्तन को महसूस करें। Feel the silence. Feel the positive within you. Stay silent for a few seconds. इसी शांत मन के साथ अपने मन में अपने लिए कोई भी संकल्प ले, एक सकारात्मक संकल्प, a positive resolution in your mind, a small positive resolution, and repeat the resolution in your mind. With the silent mind, we'll be chanting Shanti Mantra for the well-being of whole universe, for the well-being of oneself and each other. Join your both hands together. आंखें बंद, दोनों हाथ आपस में जुड़े हुए। लंबा गहरा सांस लेंगे और सभी मिलकर एक बार ओम 3 बार शांति का उच्चारण करेंगे। इनहेल ओम, शांति शांति शांति। दोनों हथेलियों को आपस में जोड़ें। हाथों के बीच में ऊर्जा पर्वत बनाते हुए अपनी आंखों के ऊपर रखेंगे। आंखों पर गर्माहट का अनुभव करें। हल्का स्पर्श पूरे चेहरे को, gentle touch to your face, to your neck. Once again, rub your palms together. Give a gentle touch to your whole body, your shoulders, arms, back, stomach, legs, whole body, a positive energy. Bend your head down, blink your eyes and open it. Thank you everyone.
Please join us live at 7:30 at the YouTube channel of PGI, in which Professor Vivek Lal will welcome the guests from Harvard, Dr. Sarah, and Dr. Jerry Mara. It's going to be a wonderful session. The director has also generously allowed for you to pick up your mats and take them with you. We thank the director for that. Have a great day.
Everyone, please kindly connect to the information. Thank you, sir.
Love divine bodies.
निकला था वो धूमधाम से खुशियां खोज के लाने, गूगल में मिलती भी नहीं। बैंक में ढूंढा, बार में ढूंढा, ढूंढ लिए तहखाने, चुटकी भर हासिल ही हुई। टूट गया वो मस्त कलंदर, खुशियां खोज न पाया, हौसला भी हार हो गया। मूंद ली आंखें बैठ गया वो, बक बक ना दोहराया, मिल गया जो बाहर ना मिला। योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा। साधु हो या ऑफिस का वो बापू, योगा से लाते स्थिरता। आदिकाल से बोल रहे अनादि के दीवाने, योगा कर योग बन जा। टुकड़ों में दुनिया को दिल में बसाता जाए, क्यों ना दिल दुनिया में घुला। अंदर की सृष्टि के अपने ही कायदे हैं, योगा से उनको जान जा। योगा से ही होगा, 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 योगा से ही होगा। निकला था वो धूमधाम से खुशियां खोज के लाने, गूगल में मिलती भी नहीं। बैंक में ढूंढा, बार में ढूंढा, ढूंढ लिए तहखाने, चुटकी भर हासिल ही हुई। टूट गया वो मस्त कलंदर, खुशियां खोज न पाया, हौसला भी हार हो गया। मूंद ली आंखें बैठ गया वो, बक बक ना दोहराया, मिल गया जो बाहर ना मिला। योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा। साधु हो या ऑफिस का वो बाबू, योगा से लाते स्थिरता। आदिकाल से बोल रहे अनादि के दीवाने, योगा कर योग बन जा। टुकड़ों में दुनिया को दिल में बसाता जाए, क्यों ना दिल दुनिया में घुला। अंदर की सृष्टि के अपने ही कायदे हैं, योगा से उनको जान जा। योगा से ही होगा, 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 योगा से ही होगा। निकला था वो धूमधाम से खुशियां खोज के लाने, गूगल में मिलती भी नहीं। बैंक में ढूंढा, बार में ढूंढा, ढूंढ लिए तहखाने, चुटकी भर हासिल ही हुई। टूट गया वो मस्त कलंदर, खुशियां खोज न आया, हौसला भी हार हो गया। मूंद ली आंखें बैठ गया वो, बक ना दोहराया, मिल गया जो बाहर ना मिला। योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा, योगा से ही होगा।
Hi everybody, my name is Dr. Madhu Chopra. I am a researcher and I am practicing this yoga session with Dr. Akshay Anand's lab students from the past 6 to 7 months, and I am feeling very great. I mean, after practicing yoga, you feel so energetic and so positive about your goals. I mean, I cannot explain this part. And I'm very, very happy about this initiative that everybody is practicing yoga every day.
हाँ जी, मेरा नाम जगदीश कुमार है और मैं अपनी माँ का इधर इलाज करवाने के लिए पीजीआई में आया हुआ हूँ। मेरी सिटी अबोहर और मैं पंजाब से हूँ। तो इधर हम अपना इलाज कराने के बाद इधर रेस्ट कर रहे थे, तो ये इधर योगा सेंटर चल रहा था। तो इधर हम 3 दिन से आ रहे हैं, मैं और मेरी माँ भी आ रहे हैं। मेरी माँ की एज 70 साल के करीब है। तो इधर बहुत अच्छा लगा, थोड़ा जैसे हल्की हल्की एक्सरसाइज भी हो रही है, थोड़ा फ्रेश फील कर रहे हैं। तो कोई भी किसी तरह का मान लो हमें इधर जो तनाव था वो हम थोड़ा रिलैक्स।
First of all, thanks to the CCRYN collaboration team who have conducted this session, which is very helpful for our mind and our brain, and it keeps our body energetic throughout the day. And thank you for the team who have conducted this and making us energetic for the whole day. Thank you, team.
नमस्कार जी, मेरा नाम दुर्गा देवी है। मैं एचपी डिस्ट्रिक्ट मंडी से हूँ। मैं यहाँ पीजीआई में अपने इलाज के लिए आई हूँ। मुझे बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम है, जैसे नसों में प्रॉब्लम है, बहुत सारी प्रॉब्लम है। मैं 15 दिनों से यहाँ योगा सेंटर में आ रही हूँ। योगा सिखा रहे हैं यहाँ पे, बहुत अच्छा महसूस कर रही हूँ, बहुत अच्छा फीलिंग कर रही हूँ। जब से योगा सीख रही हूँ बहुत अच्छा अपने आप को कंफर्टेबल पा रही हूँ। मेरी सबसे गुजारिश है कि योगा करके करो। धन्यवाद।
मेरा नाम विकास को सिकारिया है, मैं यहीं पे काम करता हूँ और मैं पिछले 1 मंथ से रेगुलर योगा क्लासेस ज्वाइन कर रहा हूँ। मैं योगा क्लासेस शुरू करके मुझे बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है, बहुत अच्छा सुखद अनुभव हो रहा है योगा क्लास अटेंड करके। जो योग और अध्यात्म से जो खुशी मिलती है वो पूरा दिन अच्छे से निकल जाता है उससे। और यही सलाह है मेरी, सबको योगा करना चाहिए। इसी के साथ साथ CCYRN का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, पीजीआई का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Hello everyone, my name is Mansi Rana. I am from EMB department and I am an MSc student. I feel very good after doing yoga and I should suggest everyone that everyone should join, and thanks to the team CCYRN. Thank you very much.
मेरा नाम राकेश कुमार है और मैं पेशे से एक अकाउंटेंट हूँ और मैं 3 दिन से यहाँ पे पीजीआई में योगा करने आ रहा हूँ और मुझे योगा से काफ़ी स्ट्रेस फ्री महसूस कर रहा हूँ। धन्यवाद।
All of you are aware as to how our Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji brought this June 21st to be celebrated throughout the world as a yoga day, an international day of yoga. Since then, 2015, year after year, the number of people who are celebrating this function is increasing. And in India, all the ministerial people have been asked to spread to every nook and corner of India to bring unity, harmony, peace by the practice of yoga. And the last year, the Ministry of Ayush has been given the responsibility to take it to at least 20 crores of people, 200 million people, and they did it almost for 18 million people, 18 crores of people. And this year the target is 25 crores. And we had a number of interministerial meetings in which everybody was enthused, and they said, yes, we'll do it. And the new Honorable Minister of Ayush has said, we'll celebrate after 25 days, 50 days, 75 days, and 100 days when we get June 21st. So the Ministry of Ayush is involved to celebrate this from 100 days. We had a wonderful program in Red Fort, the public program, as a launch of this 100 days program. That's what's happening in India. Similarly, the Ministry of External Affairs have said that we'll celebrate this International Day of Yoga, the yoga protocol to be practiced by people throughout the world, in every country. And that is what is happening in the world. Why? Because yoga has a message for all. The benefits of yoga is not only for the adults or the people who are stressed up in the field of IT and other top positions in the world, executives, governings, the whole world. It has a message for every person, every common man. It is not only to deal with the stress, it is not only deal with non-communicable diseases, it is not only for dealing with infectious and contagious diseases. Yoga has the capacity to bring benefits to everybody. Particularly when we talk about yoga, it is not merely a set of asanas, as all of you now understand. It is the science of holistic living. It is a way of life, featured by total wisdom base contained in the Upanishads. The modern science also has brought tremendous wisdom about the entire world around us. If you refresh your memory, it was 400 years back that Newton and Descartes started the ball rolling to understand this entire creation. What makes this world that we see? What is at the base of this creation? Is there a fundamental reality from where this whole creation has come? You may call it an absolute reality. And in our search soon we found to understand the whole creation is almost impossible, because we don't understand even how the rain drops, lightning occurs, thunderbolt comes. So we said, let us understand things which are very simple, down to earth, concrete things of the world. Then we'll go to the subtle thing. So the best of the intellectuals throughout the world started understanding this world and using that scientific approach to see whether we can understand the world. Yes, we did very well. Over 4 centuries, we have understood everything about the physical world. Made out of molecules. Molecules made of atoms. Atoms made of protons, neutrons, electrons, fundamental particles. And what are they made of? They're all made of packets of energy called quarks. So everything in the physical world is the electromagnetic field, the energy field in general. And we understood that we can actually measure how much of energy is in given matter. E equals mc square. A small 10 grams of the hydrogen bomb burnt up the whole of Hiroshima. Imagine. Our nuclear reactors are producing such energies with least consumption of the nuclear material. All that we understood. Not only that, we also understood how this entire world behaves using the laws of the creation. Newton brought out 3 fundamental laws, Newton's laws of motion. And this is known as classical mechanics or deterministic approach. Everything in the world is determined. If you leave the object, after 1 minute it's going to come down. In 1 second, 32 feet down. If you launch a rocket towards the moon, you can track the entire trajectory every millisecond. No ambiguity. But when you go to extremely high speeds, like an electron swirling around the nucleus, nearing the velocity of light with such speeds, then Newtonian mechanics will not hold. You have to go to the higher laws, more generalized laws of quantum mechanics, theory of relativity, special theory of relativity. All that we started understanding. What is the difference between the classical mechanics and the quantum mechanics? Quantum mechanics is the probabilistic mechanics. That if you leave an electron, it can come down, it can go up to the front and the back and the right and the left. In fact, an electron develops like a globe. Therefore, you cannot say where exactly will be the electron after 1 second. It can be here far away. Only we can talk about the probability of finding the electron here is 10%, 1%, 0.1%. That gives us the whole knowledge base of the physical world. Almost we have understood everything. Therefore, anything physical we have been a big success. Putting man on the moon, building skyscrapers, underwater tunnels, information technology, very powerful pharmacological intervention, and surgeries, 5,000 types of surgeries. We are even racing to change our genes so that the gene therapy can completely change the personality. All that we have started doing that. But what is happening to science? Science is moving further to understand the subtler and the causal dimensions of this universe. Is there something like prana? Can we create prana out of matter? Was the search that people did. But they failed. They understand prana is something different. The laws that govern prana are different. Our Schrodinger equation or the quantum mechanical equations or the Newtonian equations will not be able to describe what is prana. Then comes the mind. What is the difference between the mind and the emotions and the intellect and the consciousness? Into this region of subtlety and causality we have to move. Prince of Chopra wrote in his wonderful bestseller that it is here that India has a great contribution to make. Our ancient seers, probably thousands of years old, or millions, we do not know. They fathomed the entire creation. The entire creation, they said, is not merely physical. The physical world today known as the electromagnetic field. Then pervading this entire physical energy field, we have the bioplasmic field, the pranic field. Then encompassing all the two is the mind field and the astral field. And above that is the Anandamaya Kosha, before that is the Vijnanamaya Kosha. The information field, the intellectual field, the wisdom field, and then finally the bliss field. All these 5 fields are in continual interaction. A change in one is going to bring the change in the other. And that's the knowledge base, that's the wisdom of the Jnana Yoga developed in the Upanishads. And a change in one brings the change in the other. And at the individual level, we do not have only the physical body. It's called the Annamaya Kosha. Then the Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnana, Anandamaya Koshas are the 5 bodies that all of us have. And the causal state is the Anandamaya Kosha, a state of Ananda. It is featured by complete silence of the body. And it is that silence is bliss, bliss is peace, peace is Ananda, is the key feature. And the goal of yoga is to get into that level of silence, that level of bliss, infinite bliss almost. And that is the one that our Upanishads propel. Therefore Patanjali said the yoga is to gain mastery over the mind, to have that state of silence established. Yogaha chitta vritti nirodha, he said. And Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita said, we have to reach the state of Sthita Prajna, complete silence. What is it, Sthita Prajna? Asked Arjuna. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha Sthita Prajnaha iti uchyate, it said. And it's a state in which you have complete capacity to calm down the mind, to silence the mind as long as you want. And you'll be able to think, faster mind, quicker mind, brilliant mind, innovative mind, creative mind, faster, faster, faster. Both these capacities we should have. That is the mastery over the mind, said Patanjali. Therefore, yoga is to bring that dimension. And in the causal state, most of us are on the same level. And in that field, we have the unity consciousness. And that's what we want in the world to spread. Therefore, by the practice of yoga, Gnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga, particularly the Gnana Yoga, can bring this wonderful consciousness, the unity consciousness which spreads throughout the whole universe, the bliss field and beyond. That which is beyond the creation is our pure consciousness, beyond space-time consciousness, that is the unity consciousness. So let us all raise ourselves from our mere physical body to the pranic world, the mental capacities to gain mastery over the mind, and the knowledge base, saying that the silence is bliss, bliss is silence, and silence is peace, and that is what we have to do. Not merely to be healthy, but move towards perfect health and towards the state of wonderful bliss, and do all our activities in that blissful state, yogastaha kuru karmani, that's the jnana dimension. Therefore, in the week-long program, our Thomarji is going to expose you to wonderful knowledge base and the practical wisdom that is needed to see that we all grow in our encounter, to move from our normal level to become great, super divine human being and reach the highest level of perfection. I am so happy that you all are organizing and presenting your beautiful yoga protocol practices on this very auspicious day, June 21st, 2022. I hope you will continue these practices throughout the year and see that you inspire more and more people to practice this common yoga protocol. I wish you all the best. Good luck. Thank you. Namaskar.
In the lives of many individuals who are doing yogasanas, physical exercises and breathing exercises on a day-to-day basis, they have longer life, happier life and healthier life. You can see all around, you can interview, you can have a research data of longevity as well as the health. It is undisputed discovery. And we have found that yoga not only prevents many mental diseases from happening. So to me, not only physical health, but this yogic approach prevents mental or emotional deterioration. It's an overall package, I would say. We may begin with asanas and pranayamas, but sooner or later, in order to regulate my mind, allowing this intelligence to flourish, my buddhi, and tame my ego, I will have to meditate. Without meditation, without dhyana, there is no way forward. All those enthusiasts, like many of us, who are celebrating this IYA 21st June every year. It's a great thing that's happening. We all come together as one humanity, exercise together. And I would like to say that let's all meditate also and make this part of our daily routine. We at Heartfulness offer this training to one and all across the globe.
Hello, colleagues. This is Alyssa Eppel from University of California, San Francisco. Happy International Yoga Day. I am here to say congratulations on the new funding for this Mind-Body Center to study the empirical basis of yoga. It's so exciting and important to all of us globally to have the empirical base from molecular level to the social level for yoga science. So we are all cheering you on. Congratulations, especially to Dr. Vivek Lal, the new director, and to Akshay Anand, who has worked so hard for so many years to develop this community. So I will just say congratulations to all of you. We hope to collaborate across the seas, and namaste.
Greetings to everybody. It's the 8th International Day of Yoga, and we've all joined together at PGI. This is the third that we are doing in the form of an academic exercise. Today in the morning, PGI faculty, staff, students, residents, everybody came together in the Zakir Hall, and we had a wonderful experience of Common Yoga Protocol. We were joined by our new director, Professor Vivek Lal, our Dean Academics, Dr. G.D. Puri. We had our medical superintendent, Dr. Vipin Kaushal, and we had our financial advisor, Mr. Abhay Kumar, and our deputy director, Mr. Gaurav, and many faculty members I could see had joined, Dr. Meenu Singh, Dr. Babita, and many more, and my colleagues, Dr. Pramod, as well as Dr. KKS Soni. The good news is that we've been continuing this effort, and this is a means to keep ourselves healthy, mentally, physically, and more importantly, a bigger team, a more connected team with more positivity in this campus, which is already there. It's a very productive campus, but this day we come together to deliberate on the science and the art of yoga. So the art and the exercise we did in the morning, and now we are online with very distinguished colleagues and senior people for the 1 hour online program. So let's enjoy this. Let's learn from this program. First and foremost, we will have the program lined up. I will be soon inviting our new director, Professor Vivek Lal, who's a neurologist and a specialist in migraine, is a hard taskmaster in terms of being a very good manager, apart from being a great clinical senior colleague, who will welcome Professor Sarah Lazar is working at Harvard Medical School, General Mass General Hospital, and then she will make her address in English. We'll talk about the science of yoga and its impact on brain, and followed by which I will then invite Dr. Jaideep Arya, who is the chairman of the Haryana Yoga Commission, as well as he's heading many yoga certification board, also part of the Yogasana Sports Authority, who will speak in Hindi and maybe a bit of English on the ancient aspects, the Patanjali Sutras, Gharend Samhitas, and other important spiritual aspects, in addition to what the science that will be dwelled on by Dr. Sarah Lazar. And finally, we will have Dr. G.D. Puri, who's also joined us online. Dr. G.D. Puri is the Dean of Academics, a senior colleague who's an anesthesiologist, also has a patent on his name, and he will give the concluding remarks. So we're all lined up for an hours of interaction. I welcome my faculty colleagues, staff, students, researchers, and particularly our hardworking residents who toil in the OPDs and operation theaters. So in the afternoon, about 11 to 11:30, we will have our nodal persons who have been nominated by head of the departments to come together and do what is called as the workplace yoga, or the Y break. We all know about tea break. We are pushing this idea given by Ministry of Ayush, Government of India, of wherever our healthcare workers, our distinguished doctors and surgeons are, and the researchers are in their OPD clothes, in their ORs, operation theater clothes, or even in their office clothes, they can just learn this beautiful bending and breathing exercise, 5-minute of yoga protocol Y break. They'll all join at about 11 o'clock, and that will be another event that will be live in the same YouTube channel. So please stay tuned. And now it's time for me to request Professor Vivek Lal, the director of PGI, to welcome Professor Sarah Lazar from Harvard. She's joined. This is a little late for her, but thank you for joining. Over to Professor Vivek Lal, director of PGI.
Thank you so much, Akshay. Thank you so much. And good morning, Sarah. Good morning. I don't know what's the time there. What's the time there in Harvard at the moment?
10 o'clock at night.
Okay, okay. So it would be good evening to you there. Good morning from here. Good evening to you there. Right. So welcome, Sarah, to this wonderful program, and we're so grateful that you've been kind enough to give us a lecture on what yoga is beyond yoga. You understand what yoga stands for beyond yoga. That's your topic. And I would just, in a couple of minutes, just tell you, I always believe that yoga is a super science. It's nothing new for me. It's always been a super science for me. It's a science beyond science. It is a science which has an additional dimension, which I'm sure someday we'll be able to understand better. You know, as I was always telling Akshay, whenever we discuss about yoga, Akshay talks about he's done a fantastic job in creating awareness of yoga in the institute. Our prime minister has been a dynamo. He's a dynamic dynamo. I'll use the word a dynamic dynamo. He's got the world to recognize International Yoga Day, and the UN gladly accepted that. And I personally believe that it's not without reason when I say yoga, which was the science of the past, is soon going to be the science of the future. It's going to be the science of the future. We are soon going to know more about yoga. We are soon going to understand how yoga is a best form of prevention. Today we are moving strongly towards prevention of heart disease. What do they say? The cure of heart disease is prevention. The cure of hypertension is prevention. The cure of diabetes is prevention. And yoga is prevention. Prevention without any side effects. It's got no side effects as far as I know. Done properly, under proper care. Akshay's team today was with us for 1 hour in the morning when we all practice yoga. It was tough on me because I'm not a, I would say I'm not a hard-boiled, hard-bred yogi. I'm a cyclist, I'm a runner, but yoga is a different ball game altogether. So Akshay, I survived your class and I'm so happy to be in front of you all saying that, well, I'm a winner. Today I'm a winner because I did it exceptionally well. I was so glad. I wish I could get some more time to do that. And that's what yoga is. I mean, it's been proven now. Akshay's team has proven that it increases angiotensin enzyme levels. It does improve vascularity. It increases HDL levels. As someone was saying, meditation, if you meditate, you look at the EEG changes after meditation. They kind of flatten out. That fast beta activity goes away. It's replaced by more sedate alpha, meaning that you are at peace, and which is what I personally believe yoga is all about: inner peace in synchrony with outer self. And that is what is meditation, accompanied by what, Sarah, you're going to tell us. Over to you, Sarah. Welcome to the show. I'm really grateful to you for having been kind enough to take time out and speak for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Sir. Thank you, Professor Lal, for that encouraging words. Sarah is going to speak on yoga and brain. She's a neuroscientist, has earned a PhD, and she's very famous. We could not, for the information of our director and other colleagues, could not get her on a Yoga Scholar program that went in the COVID times. But she's gracefully agreed for this talk. She has a TED talk which has gone viral in the world with more than 1 million views. Is going to talk on the effect on brain using imaging, molecular and physiological aspects. She's very well published. Everybody knows you, Sarah, so we won't take time to introduce you in detail. Over to you, as Dr. Vivek Lal said. We are all ears and eyes to you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. I feel very honored to be part of this very auspicious day. And I'd like to congratulate all of you for the start of this new center and this new initiative. I very much look forward to seeing the research that you all publish. It's going to be quite fun to see it all. And I understand that you're also collaborating with some of my colleagues at Harvard, so perhaps I'll get in on the fun a little bit. So I thought I would start because people often ask me, how did I get into this research in the first place? And so I always like to start with a little bit of a story so people understand where I'm coming from. So I used to be a runner, and I developed an injury. I developed knee and back pain. And so I went to see a physical therapist, and they told me I had to stop running and just stretch. And as I was leaving the office of the physical therapist, I happened to notice an ad for a vigorous yoga class. And I thought, and it promised, the ad said that, yoga would, promote strength and flexibility and endurance. And so I thought, okay, well, this be a great way to just stretch but stay in shape. And this was 25, actually almost 30 years ago now. Yeah, actually was 30 years ago now. And at that point, yoga was not well known in America. And most people in America equated yoga with drugs and the hippie culture from the 60s. And so yoga was not very well thought of back then. And so, but I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to go. It's just exercise. I'm not going to worry about all the other stuff. I'm just going to go to exercise, to stretch. So I went to the first yoga class, and the yoga teacher said, oh, yoga does this for you and yoga does that for you. And I was like, yeah, I'm here to stretch. But the amazing thing was that after just one class, I was calmer. I really noticed. And, I had been a runner for many years. I always stretched before and after I ran. And there was something different about yoga. I could tell even after the first class. And after I did 2 or 3 classes, it was just really profound. And I could see that it wasn't just while I was practicing, that it was spilling over into times when I wasn't practicing. Because I just went to class once a week. I didn't do yoga on other days, but I could see on other days, even when I wasn't practicing yoga, that the yoga was having an impact on me. And so this, I thought, was amazing and profound. And I decided to start looking into the research. And at that point, there was some research, not a lot, but there was some. But there was very little on the brain. There's a lot with EEGs, but there was a new tool called MRI. At that point, it was new. And so I decided to start look with MRI at the brain with at yoga and meditation. And at that point, everyone, absolutely everyone, yogis, meditators, skeptics, everyone said the same thing. You're not going to see anything. The word I heard over and over and over again was, it's ephemeral. You're in this state and you're just not going to be able to see anything. But I believed that we could see something with the brain. I thought something's happening in the brain. I was determined to try to figure out what it was. And so today I'm going to show you some of the research we've been doing over the past 25 years to demonstrate what happens in the brain when you meditate and how it actually changes the shape of your brain. So I'm going to try to share, and let's see what happens. Good. Okay. Can you all see this?
Yes, yeah.
Excellent. Great. Okay. And I'm going to how do I get rid of this? Okay. Oh, it's just gone away. Good. All right. Good. So, right. So this is me. All right. And so, all right. So, like I said, I knew something in my brain had changed when I started practicing yoga. And so to me, as a scientist, this suggested neuroplasticity, that somehow the neurons in my brain were changing. And so I want to understand what this was. And so one of the studies we did, it was actually the second study we did, but I'm going to show it first, was we took people who had no prior yoga or meditation experience, and we put them in the MRI scanner. They then went through an 8-week program where they learned yoga and meditation. And then we scanned them again, and we compared them to people who we just scanned 8 weeks apart without doing anything in between. And what we saw was that there's actual changes in the gray matter of the brain, right? And so the gray matter, the brain is composed of white matter and gray matter. White matter is just the connections. Gray matter is the actual cell bodies, the actual neurons. And it's where where the action actually happens and where the thinking actually happens is in the gray matter. And previously it had been shown that, other forms of training, for instance, like learning how to juggle or learning new material at school, could change parts of the brain. And so we wondered, well, could we change the brain with meditation? And the short answer is yes, that there were several brain regions where there's more gray matter after the 8 weeks of practice compared to 8 weeks of doing nothing. And this region here is called the posterior cingulate, or PCC. It's involved in mind wandering. This is the supramarginal gyrus. It's involved in directing attention either outward or inward, and also being able to see things from multiple points of view. And then this third area here is the hippocampus, which is involved in memory. And you're going to be hearing more about these in the second half of the talk. And so what's interesting is also it's well known that these three regions work together in a network to create the sense of self. And we know that the sense of self gets very altered when we practice yoga and meditation. So we were very excited when we saw these three brain regions lighting up. Another region we found was here in the brainstem. And this area correlated with changes in stress, with changes in well-being. So the happier people said they felt, more satisfied they felt with their life, the more this region changed. And this is an area where we know that dopamine and serotonin are released and regulated. And so it's really interesting that this is an area that we found correlated with well-being. And the last thing we found was the amygdala, which is the fight or flight part of the brain, the fear part of the brain. That got smaller, and the change in the amygdala correlated with changes in stress. So the more stress reduction people reported, the smaller the amygdala became. So this was great, right? So we saw changes in the brain, and some of the changes were correlated with how people were reporting. So they're reporting less stress, more happiness, and parts of the brain related to that were changing in the same way. So this felt pretty good. But we know that most people don't just practice for 8 weeks. Most people have practiced for many, many years. So we also want to know what happens in the brains of long-term meditation practitioners. And what we did here is we took people who have been practicing for many years and we compared them to people who had never practiced before. And we saw that there was more gray matter in several brain regions. This big region here, this is an area called the insula. It's involved in integrating thoughts, senses, and emotions and deciding what it is you're going to pay attention to. So sometimes, if the emotions are strong, you're going to pay attention to your emotions. If the thoughts are strong, you're going to pay attention to your thoughts. And this is the part of the brain that decides where you're going to pay the attention to. They also found here in the front of the brain, the frontal cortex. This is an area involved in working memory and attention, and also something called fluid intelligence. And I'll explain what that is in a little bit. But basically, this is when you most think about thinking and problem solving, this is the part of the brain that is involved. And what was really interesting is that when we plotted this data, so the red is the controls and the blue are the meditators. And it's well known that the whole front half of our brain shrinks as we get older. And this is why as we get older, it just takes us a little longer to remember things. We're not quite as sharp as when we were younger. And what we see here is that the 50-year-olds had the same amount of gray matter as the 25-year-olds, suggesting that meditation was literally helping preserve the front of the brain. Similar with the insula, although it went down, it did not go down as quickly as it did in the controls. So together, these really suggest that potentially meditation could really help preserve cognition, right? So so let's just pause for a moment. So what happens when we meditate, right? So the common definition of mindfulness meditation is paying attention to the present moment on purpose without judgment. And the key thing here is paying attention. If you've practiced, you know that you'll be sitting and meditating and watching your breath, and all of a sudden that little thought comes up in the back of your mind, and your mind starts to wander, and it's like, oh, wait, gotta bring it back. And then you're breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. And then that thought comes up again and your mind starts to wander again. Oh, wait, hold on. No, bring it back. And so it really is an active process of paying attention over and over and over again. And so for that reason, many people have referred to mindfulness and meditation as a form of mental training. And so there's sustained attention, meta-awareness, because you have to pay attention to what your mind is doing so that you notice when it starts to wander. And you also have to remember to maintain this attitude of non-judging and receptive openness, right? And so again, for all these reasons, it's referred to as mental training. And so there have been many reports demonstrating that it's good for reducing stress. It's good for reducing depression, anxiety, pain, and insomnia, many other conditions as well. I'm going to talk more about anxiety and pain in the second half of the talk. But it also helps cognition. There have been numerous studies now demonstrating that it improves memory and different types of memory and attention, and also mental flexibility. Most of these studies, though, have been done in healthy young people. And so oops, I'm jumping ahead, sorry. So first I'm going to talk to you about intelligence. So there's different types of intelligence. I told you that meditation was good for, or that the part of the brain that was preserved was related to fluid intelligence, right? And so crystallized intelligence is the information that you have. Fluid intelligence is your ability to take that information and problem solve with it. And we know that crystallized intelligence increases as we get older because we just, remember all the information that we learned as we get older. Versus fluid intelligence peaks in our 20s, and then it's all downhill from there. And again, we know it's related to the thinning of the cortex. And fluid intelligence, we know, is composed of sustained attention, working memory, metacognition, and executive functions. So we know that meditation is promoting sustained attention and metacognition and working memory. So the question is, can we preserve fluid intelligence with aging? For this, could we actually demonstrate this? And so what we did is we recruited another group of people. This time we recruited people between the ages of 40 and 70. And we gave them all the standard test of fluid intelligence. And fluid intelligence is often referred to as IQ. And what we saw in the controls is that, as expected, with age, the fluid intelligence went down, right? This is very well established that as we get older, the fluid intelligence goes down. But in the yoga and meditation practitioners, we saw that, yeah, there was some loss, but for the most part, it was preserved. And there was no longer a correlation between age and IQ as there was before. So it really does suggest that meditation is able to slow down mental decline with aging. So this is great. But then we decided to take it up a notch. And we wondered, well, what if we start meditating late in life, right? So, that's great because in our last studies, many of the people have been practicing for 15, 20, 30 years. What if you're already in your 40s or 50s or 60s and you say, hey, I want to improve my memory. I want to preserve my memory. Can I do it? Can an old dog learn new tricks? So to address this, we did a new study where we recruited 120 normal adults. These are people 65 to 80 years old. And they're all cognitively normal. So there's no Alzheimer's or dementia of any sort. And they also had no prior meditation or yoga experience. And we randomized them to either mindfulness or brain games. And brain games were crossword puzzles and Sudoku and word jumbles, things like this. And they went through an 8-week class where they got 40 minutes a day of yoga or meditation or these brain games. And we then tested them before, after, and 1 year later. And what we see is with the controls is that from pre to post, there was a small increase in fluid intelligence, but by 12 months, they lost it completely. Versus the meditators, there was an increase from pre to post. And then not only did they maintain it over the next 12 months, they actually continued to improve, which is really amazing because this has never, ever, ever been demonstrated. There's been a lot of interest in trying to find ways to promote cognition. And we were just hoping to preserve cognition. And we were quite astounded to find out that we could actually continue to enhance it over the next 12 months. We also gave them a measure of sustained attention. And again, we saw a very similar pattern versus the first 8 weeks, both groups improved. But then over the next 12 to 24 months, the controls went down versus the meditators, again, continue to improve over the next 2 years. So it really does suggest, again, that it's an active process, that it's not just keeping the mind healthy, that we're actually exercising it. And just as we can get our muscles stronger, we can get our brain stronger. When we looked at the data a little bit more closely, we saw something really interesting. So I'm just going to break it down. So this was a 16-minute task, and this was at baseline. And what happens is that you start off pretty well, but then over the course of the 16 minutes, it's a boring task, and people's mind starts to wander, and you're not so good at keeping attention and keeping your performance going up over the course of the 16 minutes on this task. So this is baseline, and then this is at 8 weeks, 1 year, 2 year. And what you see is that not only is the starting performance getting better and better and better, but the ability to maintain performance over the 16 minutes has steadily improves, right? And so that they're being able to even when it's a really boring task, they're able to keep their attention steady and focused for longer periods of time. Versus in the controls, we never saw a change. The rate of decline over the 16 minutes was the same at all the time points, really demonstrating that although we showed you that from pre to post, both groups improved, it seems like they're doing it differently, that it's not the same way that they're improving attention, that meditation is different than crossword puzzles and Sudoku and other ways of training the brain, that there's something else addition to it. And so that's cognition. And so now I'm going to shift and talk a little bit about anxiety and pain. So just to remind us all that mindfulness is perfectly paying attention to experiences in the present moment in a non-judgmental way. And this last bit of the definition is really important. What does it mean to be non-judgmental? The word I like better is equanimity. So this idea that all of our experience is equal, right? And that we're not shutting down, we're open, we're caring, but we're non-reactive, and we can experience things as they are without reactivity and with openness. And the question was, can we actually demonstrate this in the brain? And so this study, so first I'm going to tell you a little bit about pain in the brain. So there's two components of pain. One component of pain is the actual sensory experience. So the burning, stabbing, throbbing, pulsing, tingling, that's one aspect of pain. The other component of pain is the emotional reaction to it. Ouch, that hurts. I don't like it. Make it stop. And what we know is that those are in two different parts of the brain and that they're not the same, that they can be separated. And what we see is this blue network is primarily the actual sensory experience of it, versus the front of the brain encodes more of the reactivity to the pain. And what's really interesting is that what we know is that other forms of pain control, including attention and expectation and placebo, they all work the same way. What they do is this brown network, the front of the brain, the executive part of the brain, shuts down this network. So in the sense, so I should say this is the front of the brain. Here's the brainstem. So the painful stimulus comes in, it comes up, it gets processed by the blue network normally. But when we do engage pain control, what happens is that this network gets shut down. So that information comes up, but then it never comes up into conscious memory or conscious awareness. So you just don't feel it. The question is, what about meditation? So what we did is we put people in the MRI scanner and we applied a very mild electric shock to their hand. And then we had them rate both the sensory experience of it and also the unpleasantness of it. And what we saw is that, so this is the front of the brain. Here are the controls. The controls, so these were long-term meditation practitioners and people who had never meditated before. And what we saw with the controls is first we had them do it in a normal state and then in a meditative state. And the controls, we just told them what meditation was before they went in the scanner. They didn't really know what they were doing. We just said, okay, be aware of the pain. And we see is that this part of the brain got turned on by the controls, which is exactly what you see in other forms of pain control. Versus in the mindfulness practitioner, this part of the brain got turned off, right? So the front of the brain that normally gets turned on gets turned off. And sensory cortex, right? The part that's actually evaluating the tingling, throbbing, pulsing, burning sensation got turned on in the mindfulness practitioners and turned off in the controls. So what we're seeing in the controls is exactly what we saw with other forms of pain control, versus in the mindfulness practitioner, we're seeing the exact opposite. Now you might think, okay, well, what's going on here? This doesn't make sense. What's going on? But let's remember, what's the instruction for mindfulness? Mindfulness is pay attention to sensory experience in the present moment, non-judgmentally. So here it is, we're seeing that they're really paying attention to the sensory experience and they're doing it without the I don't like it, make it stop judgments, right? And so we're seeing in real time mindfulness, real true mindfulness, that they're turning off the judging and turning on the sensory experience, even when that sensory experience is unpleasant. And when we had them rate their experience, what we saw is that There was no change in the intensity, so how intense the stabbing and burning was, but there was a dramatic decrease in unpleasantness, right? So even though they were paying more attention to it, they were rating it as less unpleasant. And this is equanimity, right? So that even though they're really experiencing something unpleasant, they're able to do it in this open and non-judging way. And so there's a quote here: life is painful, suffering is optional. And this is really important because pain is inevitable, either through illness or an accident or emotional pain. You know, we all have lost people that we love, either to old age or to illness. And we're going to experience pain, but how we respond to that pain, we have a choice. And so, and this is really what meditation is helping teach us, is that regardless of what life throws at us, we can choose how we respond to it. The last thing I want to show you is about fear and anxiety. And I'm just going to skip through this. So what we did is we put people through a 2-day fear conditioning protocol, and I'll explain this in a moment. And then we randomized them to either mindfulness, meditation, and yoga, or to exercise. And then we repeated this at the end. And the reason why we chose to do this against exercise is because, again, the question is, there's lots of ways to reduce stress. You know, exercise is a fantastic way to reduce stress. So isn't meditation just stress reduction, or is there something more to it? And so we really wanted to compare it to something that was actively going to reduce the stress. And so the people were randomized, and they were told that there was no control group, which is true. And they also got information about diet and sleep in the exercise group. And both groups were told to practice 40 minutes per day at home. So the mindfulness group practiced mindful yoga meditation at home, and the exercise group exercised at home. And both groups reduced stress. They were very effective at reducing stress. That was the same. And what we saw is in both groups that the more you practice, the more you benefit, right? So the more you practice, the more stress reduction people reported. So now, what's this fear conditioning? So you might remember about Pavlov's dogs. And the dogs, normally they salivate when they see food, and they don't salivate when they hear a bell. But because they always rang the bell when they were fed, they learned that the bell meant that they were going to get fed. And so they started learning to salivate even when they saw the bell or heard the bell, even when there was no food. And so people have now done this with humans, but we want to look at fear. And so what we did is we paired instead of food, we used electric shock. Instead of bells, we used lights. And what we did is we put them in the scanner, and they showed them lights, and they got shocked periodically. And what it looks like is sort of like this. And so we saw actually 3 different colored lights. So the blue light, they were never shocked. And red lights and yellow lights, they were shocked. And then the question is, does this change from pre to post, and how they respond to the shocks? And what we saw was that for the controls from pre to post, so the red light is the light that got shocked to, the blue light's the light that didn't get shocked to, that there's this big decrease in how much they respond, their fear response, or their startle response, I should say, not their fear, but their startle, like their physiological response to the getting shocked was decreased. Versus the mindfulness group, there was no change. And at first, we thought, what's going on here? But then we remembered the study with the pain. And what we realized is that these people remembered they were getting shocked. And so instead of being open to the pain, they shut down, right? And they shut down that sensory network. Versus this group, so even after just 8 weeks, right? The last study I showed you were people who've been practicing for 10, 20, 30 years. These are people who've been practicing for just 8 weeks. Even after just 8 weeks, they had learned to not shut down and to really just feel the pain non-judgmentally. And what was really cool is that the more people looked pre and post the same, and the more they responded at post, the more more stress reduction they reported, right? So the more, the more they did this, the less stress reduction they reported. The more they looked like this, the more stress reduction they reported. So again, this idea of equanimity, of it doesn't matter what's happening, if I'm stressed out, if I'm being shocked, if, in an MRI scanner, I can still respond openly. And then the interesting part of the study then came, what we did is that, on day one, they all got shocked. They then showed them the red light and the blue light, and they didn't get shocked to the red light. So they learned that the red light meant they were safe. No new information about the yellow light. We then brought them back the next day, and we showed them all three lights, and they weren't being shocked. And the question is, how did they respond to the lights, especially the red light? Did they respond as if they're going to get shocked? Or did they respond as if they're going to that they weren't going to get shocked? Could they remember that they were no longer going to be shocked? And it's really important because this has been shown that people with anxiety and depression, they forget. And they look more like this versus people who have a healthy, are not depressed and not anxious, they look more like this, right? That they remember that they're not being shocked. And this is the hippocampus, which is one of the regions we know changes in 8 weeks, is really important for this. And we saw was that indeed their response looked more, they were better able to remember it, right? So they were able to remember it. And then we looked in the brain, what we saw is that the hippocampus was connected to sensory cortex. So this is the part of the brain where the hand is represented. And so this is on day 2. They're not actually being shocked, but they're lying there in the scanner looking at the lights. And what they're doing is thinking about their hand or remembering their hand or remembering that they weren't shocked the day before. Conversely, the controls, this is visual cortex. They were just looking at the lights and trying to figure out what the lights meant. And they were not paying attention to their hand. And this was related to anxiety. So the more this lit up, the more anxiety people reported. And so the controls were experiencing lots more anxiety versus the meditators were not. And then the third region we found here was the SMG, the supramarginal gyrus, right? And this again is one of the regions we found changing in just 8 weeks. And this is an area, if you remember, I told you controls, do I pay attention to the outside world or the inside world? And so our model is that what mindfulness is doing is it's strengthening these brain regions, the hippocampus and the supramarginal gyrus. And so it's better able to decide what I'm going to pay attention to and how, when it needs to be paid attention to. And so when you're lying in the scanner, which is not pleasant or fun, and you're being shocked, or you might be shocked, what you're doing is you're paying attention to your actual sensory experience instead of freaking out and looking at the lights and trying to figure out what's going on. And so this is literally what's happening in your brain. And this is not during meditation, right? These people were not told to meditate in the scanner. This is just, this is what they've learned and how they're responding spontaneously while they're in the scanner after just 8 weeks of practice. And so the conclusion is that mindfulness of the body is key for both pain and fear, and that we're shifting away from thinking about and defending against threats to experiencing it openly and with equanimity. And I'd just like to end with a brief quote. So meditation is not evasion. It's a serene encounter with reality. And this is really what we're seeing, because again, so much is going on in the world right now. And we have this tendency to want to just ignore what's going on or hide away from it and maybe use meditation as a way to escape. And it's really not that, right? And it's not just about getting into bliss states. It's learning how to really get in touch with your body, get in touch with your emotions, so that when you go out into the world, you can encounter it serenely, right? So it's not just while you're practicing, it's while you're out in the world as well. And so with that, I'll say thank you. And I will, stop sharing. So thank you very much for having me come and be part of this very auspicious day. And good luck for you.
Thank you, Sarah, for a very engaging and captivating talk. You related all the neuroimaging studies to behavioral studies, and the beauty was the way you cope with fear and pain. And I loved and I'm sure my colleagues liked and may have questions, but we are not going to address in this particular forum about how the elderly reacted to the fluid memory versus mindfulness. So, but later you qualified the disappointment, probably disappointment among the elderly who may be starting meditation late. At least they can be mindful, and at least presumably from what the data that you showed, they may encounter fear and pain more realistically, even if they start meditation late. For the information of, for your information and for other viewers, the government of India is actually standardizing the yoga, and they also kind of, try to dissociate the two versions, the yoga and meditation. Meditation is considered by definition very much a part of yoga, as you may agree. Ashtanga yoga, the generic yoga prescribed by Maharishi Patanjali, talks of 8 limb path, and the meditation are the last 3 parts of that, namely yama niyama, the social and the moral doctrines, asana pranayam, the physical and the mental, the physical postures and the breathing techniques, and the 5th step being the process of inner enrichment by withdrawing your senses and developing the inner self, and then your meditation. That a lot of Western researchers have focused on meditation alone, with or without asanas, but they are inseparable part of yoga, as the Ashtanga yoga, the Dhyan, Dharana, and the Samadhi. So the government of India is actually standardizing these yoga protocols, and presumably that would act as a good way to launch many global, multi-centric, multi-country trials to see the effect of whatever protocol you used, if that is reproducible, and if that can be rolled out for people suffering from mental diseases, cognitive decline, fear, pain, etc., etc. I would not go further. I would like to thank you on behalf of the director, dean, and everybody. I know it's very late for you. If you can stay logged in, it would be wonderful. Otherwise, we won't press on you. We have our next speaker waiting for us, and this is going to be bilingual, English and Hindi. Thank you, Sarah. I would now like to introduce to you Dr. Jaideep Arya, a fellow colleague, distinguished yoga scholar. He is part of the Yoga Certification Board. The National Yoga Certification Board has been set up by Government of India to standardize various yoga protocols and to deliver them through trained yoga personnel, level 1, level 2, level 3, and so on. He's also part of the Khelo India, in which the yoga asanas are being integrated into sports. My assumption is that this is being done to engage more and more younger people who think yoga is meant for the elderly. They might get engaged through school games in which yoga asana aspect, not the pranayam, not the meditation aspect, with the games. And he plans to take it to the Olympics eventually, which is a big policy decision for the government of India. He is also part of the IYA, India Yoga Association, active member. If I'm not wrong, he's the joint secretary. And of course, he's the chairman of Haryana Yoga Ayog, which has been set up as a commission, now a commission after the assembly passed that act. And as a commission chairman, he's doing a lot of things. We will hear from him. जयदीप आर्य जी, आपका बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन, स्वागत है पीजीआई के हमारे फैकल्टी कॉलीग्स हम आपके साथ जुड़े हैं, हमारे डायरेक्टर साहब, डीन साहब और विभिन्न एलुमनाई जो इस यूट्यूब चैनल से सब्सक्राइब्ड हैं, वो भी आपको देख सकते हैं। इस पूरे कार्यक्रम में आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत हो। अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस में आपका अभिनंदन। हम आपको सुनने के लिए बेताब हैं और मंच अब आपका, आपको सुनने के लिए तैयार है।
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद डॉक्टर अक्षयानंद जी। आप योग के क्षेत्र में न्यूरो साइंस को साथ लेकर जिस प्रकार की रिसर्च कर रहे हैं, बॉडी माइंड सेंटर ऑफ CCRYN को हेड कर रहे हैं, आपको बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। और पीजीआई चंडीगढ़ जो पूरे विश्व का, भारत का ही नहीं पूरे विश्व का एक ऐसा प्रमाणिक संस्थान है जहां से कोई आवाज जाती है तो पूरा विश्व उसको बहुत ध्यान से सुनता है। उसके ऐसे ही बहुत यशस्वी डायरेक्टर आदरणीय भाई विवेक लाल जी, आदरणीय डॉक्टर विवेक जी, योग में विवेक ख्याति एक अपने आप में बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि होती है। तो आप योगी हैं तभी तो आप विवेकी निर्णय लेते हैं। आपका बहुत अभिनंदन। आप अभी इस संस्थान को लीड कर रहे हैं। आदरणीय भाई GD पुरी जी जो डीन है पीजीआई चंडीगढ़ के, अपने डॉक्टर सारा लाजार जो मैंने अभी प्रोफेसर हार्वर्ड मेडिकल स्कूल से, जिनको अभी हम सुन रहे थे, उन्होंने जिस प्रकार अपनी बात रखी, मैं वहीं से अपनी बात को आरंभ करता हूँ। उन्होंने कहा कि किस प्रकार की पैनिक की सिचुएशन आ जाती है, एंग्जायटी की, शॉक की सिचुएशन आती है ड्यूरिंग एलोपैथिक ट्रीटमेंट्स के साथ भी हम देखते हैं, वो किस प्रकार आगे बढ़ती है। हम देखते हैं कि एंग्जायटी की जैसे स्थिति एमआरआई के दौरान मुझे भी पिछले दिनों सीटी स्कैन, एक एमआरआई करवाने की आवश्यकता रही। एक एंग्जायटी की स्थिति तो रहती है और कैसे उसे कूल डाउन करना है, यदि आप उसको सीखना चाहें तो आपको योग में आना होगा। मैं बहुत से अपने I know many doctors in allopathy, they before operations, surgical operations, they meet with the patients one to one, console them psychologically, they treat them first of all to reduce the anxiety part. That is very important. अब हम इसको योग के माध्यम से कैसे सिद्ध कर सकते हैं? आज हम हरियाणा योग आयोग के माध्यम से पीजीआई चंडीगढ़ के साथ लेकर हम जेल्स में भी इस प्रकार की कुछ रिसर्च कर रहे हैं। किस प्रकार तनाव जो जेल इनमेट्स हैं उसमें कैसे कम हो, उनकी जो लाइफ़स्टाइल है उसमें योग को इंटरवेंशन करने से क्या लाभ होता है, स्टूडेंट्स के जीवन में इंटरवेंशन करने से क्या लाभ होता है, इस सब पे हम कार्य कर रहे हैं। आज हम उसकी बात करते हैं, थोड़ा-सा योग क्या है? तो लोगों के ध्यान में आता है कि योग शायद कोई कँदराओं में, गुफाओं में करने वाला कोई व्यायाम है। हाँ, व्यायाम भी है परंतु इट्स नॉट ओनली एन एक्सरसाइज़। ये जीवन जीने की साइंस और कला है। इट इज़ अ साइंस एंड आर्ट ऑफ लिविंग द लाइफ। अब हम उसके विषय में आपके साथ साझा होना चाहते हैं। योग का मूल तत्व क्या है? योग महर्षि पतंजलि कहते हैं अथ योगः अनुशासनम, योगश्चित्त वृत्ति निरोधा, तदः द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानम। हम अपनी सहज अवस्था में आ जाएँ, इसका नाम योग है। मैं यदि इसको बहुत 3 शब्दों में आपके साथ साझा करना चाहूँ तो मैं कई बार अपने लेक्चर्स में कहता भी हूँ कि पीएचसी, प्योरिटी, हैप्पीनेस, हार्मनी एंड कंसंट्रेशन। किसी भी कार्य को करते हुए यदि ये 3 तत्व आपके जीवन में हैं, तो आप योग कर रहे हैं। और यदि ये 3 तत्व नहीं है तो आप योग नहीं कर रहे, क्योंकि मैं योगेश्वर भगवान श्री कृष्ण को कोट करना चाहता हूँ। भगवत गीता में उन्होंने बहुत स्पष्ट कहा है, योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजयः सिद्ध असिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वम योग उच्यते। सिद्ध अवस्था में, असिद्ध अवस्था में, जय में, पराजय में, हानि में, लाभ में, यश में, अपयश में, जीवन के उतार और चढ़ाव में आप सम अवस्था, अपने मेंटल बैलेंस को बना के रखें, ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। यही योग है। और उन्होंने कहा योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि, हमने कहा योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि अर्थात जीवन में कुछ भी करना है योगस्थ होकर करिए। हमने योगेश्वर भगवान कृष्ण से पूछा कि 24 घंटे कैसे योग कर सकते हैं? तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ, आपका आहार भी योग में होना चाहिए, आपका विहार भी, आपकी निद्रा भी, आपकी सोच भी, आपके कार्य भी योग में होने चाहिए। तो हमने कहा कि योग में कार्य कैसे हो सकते हैं? कि हम तो पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं, हम तो मेडिकल कॉलेज में पढ़ा रहे हैं या हम ट्रीटमेंट कर रहे हैं, अपने क्लिनिक में पेशेंट्स को देख रहे हैं। तो उन्होंने कहा कि हाँ, ये योग में ही है। यदि आप अपने पेशेंट को बहुत सात्विक भाव से, बहुत हार्मनी और हैप्पीनेस के साथ, बहुत कंसंट्रेशन के साथ उनको उनकी पेन को रिलीफ करते हो, तो ये भी योग है। योग केवल आसन करने का नाम नहीं है, योग केवल प्राणायाम करने का नाम नहीं है। हाँ, वो भी एक पक्ष है, परंतु योग बहुत विराट और बहुत विस्तृत है। योग हमारी आंतरिक शक्तियों के जागरण का नाम है। अब आप कहेंगे आंतरिक शक्तियों का जागरण क्या कहते हैं? उसके विषय में हम बात करेंगे, परंतु प्योरिटी, हार्मनी और कंसंट्रेशन किन तत्वों की होनी चाहिए? तो उन्होंने कहा टीम की। टीम मायने थॉट्स, इमोशंस, एक्शन एंड माइंड। थॉट का प्योरिटी हो, हैप्पीनेस हो, थॉट में हैप्पीनेस हो, कंसंट्रेशन हो, इमोशंस में प्योरिटी हो, हैप्पीनेस और कंसंट्रेशन हो, एक्शंस में, माइंड में प्योरिटी, हैप्पीनेस और कंसंट्रेशन हो, ये योग है। अब इसको प्राप्त कैसे करें? तो हठ योग में एक सूत्र आता है, चले वाते चलम चितम निश्चले निश्चलम भवेत। जब तक ये प्राण चल रहा है तब तक आपका मन भी चल रहा है। तो कह रहे हैं कि मन आपकी इंद्रियों को इधर-उधर लेके जाते हैं, इसको विचलित करते हैं, यही एंग्जायटी पैदा करता है, यही शोक और यही डिप्रेशन, यही तनाव स्थिति की ओर लेके जाते हैं। यदि हमें इसको ऊपर नियंत्रण करना है, तो हमें योग को अपनाना होगा। तो योग से क्या होगा? योग से मन पर नियंत्रण प्राप्त होगा। तो हमने कहा मन पर नियंत्रण करना तो बड़ा कठिन है। तो कहेंगे मन पर नियंत्रण ऐसे नहीं आएगा, पहले आपको अपने प्राणों पर नियंत्रण करना होगा। प्राणों का नियंत्रण योग की महिमा है। वो कह रहे हैं कि चले वाते चलम चितम, जब तक प्राण चल रहा है तो आपका मन भी चल रहा है। निश्चले निश्चलम भवेत, जब ये प्राण आपको रोकना आ गया, प्राण पर साधना करनी आ गई, प्राण को साधना आ गया, तो आप अपनी इंद्रियों को भी साध लेंगे और अपने मन को भी साध लेंगे। तो इस प्राण को साधने के लिए हम प्राणायाम करते हैं। अनुलोम विलोम प्राणायाम आज सब लोग को पता है। अल्टरनेट ब्रीदिंग सिस्टम कहते हैं। बाएं से श्वास लिया, दाएं से छोड़ दिया, दाएं से लिया, बाएं से छोड़ दिया। आप जितने डॉक्टर्स बैठे, मैं आपसे सबसे निवेदन करूंगा, कोई पेशेंट यदि आपका ब्लड प्रेशर का है, यदि उसको आपका हाई ब्लड प्रेशर है, आप उसे अपने पास बिठाकर 5 मिनट कर लीजिए, केवल मात्र 5 मिनट। इंस्टेंट बेनिफिट ऑफ द प्राणायाम। इमीडिएटली आप देखेंगे कम से कम सिस्टोलिक और डायस्टोलिक बीपी 10 to 20 पॉइंट्स डाउन हो जाएगा। और ये आप अपने सामने करके देख सकते हैं। यही हमने आपको बताना है कि योग ऐसा नहीं है कि 1 साल के बाद, 7 दिन के बाद इफेक्ट करता है, इंस्टेंट लाभ करता है। आप कपालभाति करके देख लीजिए, आपका बीपी यदि लो है तो आपके बीपी को मेंटेन कर देगा। यदि आप कपालभाति कर लीजिए, यदि आपकी शुगर लेवल बढ़ा हुआ है, उसको मेंटेन करने में लाभ करता है। हम बात आ गई, आज इंडिया इज नाउ गोइंग टू बी द कैपिटल ऑफ डायबिटीज। हम सारी चीजें कर रहे हैं डायबिटीज के दृष्टिकोण से, परंतु हम देख रहे हैं कि इंसुलिन लेने के बाद भी अनकंट्रोल्ड शुगर हो रहा है। आखिर क्या कारण है? इंसुलिन रेजिस्टेंस हो रही है, रिसेप्टर सही काम नहीं कर रहे। योग से क्या होगा? योग से ब्रेन सिग्नल्स प्रॉपर हो जाएंगे, मैसेजिंग प्रॉपर हो जाएगी, क्लियर रिसेप्टर्स काम करेंगे और क्लियर मैसेजेस प्राप्त होंगे। रिसेप्टर्स प्रॉपर काम करने शुरू कर देते हैं और इंसुलिन, हमने देखा बहुत से केसेस में इंसुलिन की मात्रा कम नहीं है, रिसेप्टर्स काम नहीं कर रहे। कपालभाति करिए, अनुलोम विलोम करिए, आपके रिसेप्टर्स ठीक हो जाएंगे। जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स में रोगों के जो बड़े कारण हैं, उसमें नॉन फिजिकल एक्टिविटी एक बड़ा कारण है। आपको डिजीज, कम्युनिकेबल और नॉन कम्युनिकेबल डिजीज की बात कर लें, परंतु एक बड़ा कारण उसमें जेनेटिक डिजीज का भी है। अब किसी को जेनेटिक बीपी है, जेनेटिक हार्ट अटैक, जेनेटिक कैंसर्स आ रहे हैं, तो उसको, उस जीन्स को ठीक करने में क्या काम करता है? तो हमने कहा कि 9 महीने से यदि 1 साल तक लगातार योग किया जाए, तो हम जेनेटिक पार्ट पर भी इसका लाभ देख पा रहे हैं। आज मैं आपके साथ इस बात को बहुत जिम्मेदारी के साझा कर रहा हूँ। पतंजलि योगपीठ में मेरे को परम श्रद्धेय स्वामी जी महाराज के साथ कार्य करने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ, उनके सानिध्य में कार्य को देखने का अवसर प्राप्त हुआ। हम देख रहे हैं कि जिनको टाइप 2 डायबिटीज थी, उनका तो जो अर्ली, जिनको पता चल गया कि प्री डायबिटिक जैसी पेशेंट पता चला, हमने उनको कपालभाति, अनुलोम विलोम के साथ योग, आयुर्वेद और इंटीग्रेटेड योग मेडिसिन के साथ काम करना शुरू किया, इंटीग्रेटेड थेरेपी के साथ काम करना शुरू किया, तो आज हमने पाया कि उनकी डायबिटीज रिवर्स हो रही है। आपको जानकर आश्चर्य हो गया कि पहली बार मेरे लिए भी एक मिराकल हो रहा है कि टाइप 1 डायबिटीज जो 60 से लेकर 120-40 यूनिट तक इंसुलिन ले रहे थे, उन बच्चों की इंसुलिन लेवल 0 लेवल पर आ गई है। आप इसको आश्चर्य मानेंगे, परंतु ये हुआ है, ये घटित हुआ है। ये मेडिकल साइंस के लिए अपने आप मिराकल है। मैं मेडिकल का विद्यार्थी हूँ, मैं इस बात को जानता हूँ, परंतु उसमें बड़ी भूमिका योग प्राणायाम की है। आइए, हम प्राणायाम से क्या होता है, हमारी लंग्स कैपेसिटी इंक्रीज हो जाती है। दूसरा एक बड़ा कारण है, वो हमारे बैलेंस करने का कार्य करता है। बैलेंस किसका करता है? जैसे हार्मोन्स का बैलेंस कर देता है, मेंटल बैलेंस, स्ट्रक्चर बैलेंस करने का कार्य करता है। हमारे अंदर मिनरल्स को, जो माइक्रोन्यूट्रिएंट्स हैं, गैसियस पार्ट हैं, उनको बैलेंस करने का काम करता है। क्योंकि योग की अपनी एक बड़ी परिभाषा गीता में कही गई है, वो बार-बार एक ही बात कहा जाता है कि समत्वम योग उच्यते। योगस्थ कुरु कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजया सिद्ध सिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्वम योग उच्यते। समत्वम योग उच्यते, बैलेंस इज कॉल्ड योगा। तो हमने जीवन में देखा कि जीवन में ये हार्मोन्स को बैलेंस कैसे किया जाए, उसके सिक्रीशंस को कैसे बैलेंस किया जाए, ये अपने आप में एक बड़ा पार्ट है। आज हम देखते हैं योग प्राणायाम करने के बाद आप ब्रेन सेल्स जो रिलीज कर रहे हैं डोपामिन, ऑक्सीटोसिन, सेरोटोनिन, एंडोर्फिन, इन हार्मोन्स को रिलीज होते हुए आप मेडिकली चेक कर सकते हैं, आप इसको आप देख सकते हैं कि ध्यान करने के बाद, प्राणायाम करने के बाद आप में कामनेस बढ़ जाती है। आपका जो डिप्रेशन है, एंग्जाइटी लेवल है, उसको एकदम रिड्यूस करता है और आपका कंसंट्रेशन, फोकस और मेमोरी आपकी बढ़ जाती है। मुझे लगता है लॉन्ग टर्म जो मेडिटेशन है, इस ये यदि हम लगातार करते हैं तो इट इंक्रीजेस द ग्रे मैटर ऑफ ब्रेन। स्टडी पब्लिश्ड इन so many journals that are saying that growth in heart brain cells can increase the self control of the mind. मैं आपसे इतना ही निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ, देशबंध चित्तस्य धारणा, जो आदरणीय भाई अक्षय जी अभी बात कह रहे थे कि अष्टांग योग यम से शुरू होता है, यम, नियम, आसन, प्राणायाम, प्रत्याहार, धारणा, ध्यान, समाधि। उसमें धारणा का जो तत्व है, वो धारणा का तत्व है कि देशबंध चित्तस्य धारणा। हम अपने माइंड को एक स्थान विशेष पर एकाग्र करने का प्रयास करना शुरू करते हैं और इसकी जो प्रोलॉन्ग स्थिति है उसका नाम समाधि है। ऐसा नहीं कि समाधि केवल पहले ऋषि मुनि सन्यासी ही लगाया करते थे। आप आजकल के जो रिसर्चर्स हैं वो भी ऋषि मुनि सन्यासी हैं। आप भी समाधि की अवस्था में जाते हैं। हाँ, आपकी ड्यूरेशन कम है, मेरी ड्यूरेशन कम है। मैं हो सकता हूँ 2 मिनट कंसंट्रेट कर पाता हूँ, फोकस कर पाता हूँ, तुरंत 5 मिनट कर पाता हूँ। वो लंबे समय तक बैठते हैं, अब तभी उनका जीवन जो है वो कभी 150 साल, 200 साल, 300-300 साल तक उनका जीवन रहा करता था। आज हमारा जीवन कम होता जा रहा है और वो भी रोगों के साथ जुड़ा हुआ हो। कितनी दवाइयाँ खाकर हम चलते हैं। हम यदि रोग मुक्त जीवन चाहते हैं, नशा मुक्त जीवन चाहते हैं, तो हमें योग प्राणायाम को अपने जीवन में अपनाना होगा। मैं यम की दृष्टिकोण से बात करूं तो यम में सबसे पहला तत्व है अहिंसा। अहिंसा, सत्य, अस्तेय, अपरिग्रह और ब्रह्मचर्य, ये जो 5 तत्व हैं, इससे यम बना है। अर्थात यदि आपने मृत्यु को नियंत्रण में करना है, योग इसके माध्यम से भी नॉन वायलेंस योग से शुरू होता है। योग का पहला तत्व ही नॉन वायलेंस है। नॉन वायलेंस केवल मात्र हाथ से लोगों का प्रहार करना, उसको रोकना, इसका मतलब नॉन वायलेंस नहीं है। मानसिक रूप से किसी से द्वेष ना करना, ये नॉन वायलेंस है। ये योग सिखाता है। ऐसे ही जो नियम है वो शौच, संतोष, तप, स्वाध्याय, ईश्वर प्रणिधान, ये 5 तत्व योग हैं। तो इन 5 तत्वों में पहला तत्व है वो शौच, अर्थात क्लीनिनेस। क्लीनिनेस केवल मात्र शरीर की, मन और जल से नहीं, मन की। आप किसी से द्वेष करते हैं तो हर रोज उस द्वेष को आप अपने ध्यान में बैठकर उसको साफ करिए। ये थॉट को क्लीन करना, इमोशंस को क्लीन करना, एक्शंस और माइंड को क्लीन करना, ये कार्य आप ध्यान में क्लीनिनेस से होते हैं, शुद्धि प्राप्त होती है। और शुद्धि, योग में सबसे पहले शुद्धि प्राप्त होती है और फिर व्यक्ति सिद्धि को प्राप्त होता है। आइए योग मायने शुद्धि से सिद्धि की यात्रा को हम आरंभ करते हैं। शारीरिक जीवनचर्या के साथ साथ मानसिक जीवनचर्या में भी हम योग को अपने जीवन में देखते हैं कि हर प्रकार के शोधन की क्रिया पहले आरंभ होती है। और योग में, प्राणायाम में, आयुर्वेद में भी सबसे पहले हम शरीर के शोधन की बात करते हैं, क्योंकि यदि मेडिसिन भी तब काम नहीं करती यदि शरीर अशुद्ध हो और उसमें कई प्रकार की गंदगी भरी हुई हो। उसको पहले हम शुद्ध करने की प्रक्रिया आरंभ करते हैं। शुद्ध होना ही बुद्ध होना है। आइए शुद्ध से बुद्ध की इस यात्रा को, योग की यात्रा को हम जीवन में आरंभ करें। यम, नियम, नॉन वायलेंस से शुरुआत करके और क्लीनिनेस से शुरुआत करके हम अपने जीवन में आसन को सिद्ध करें। दैनिक रूप से 5 से 10 मिनट आसन करें, 10 से 15 मिनट तक के लिए प्राणायाम अवश्य करें और 5 से 10 मिनट के लिए आप मेडिटेशन अवश्य करें। जल से तन की शुद्धि और प्राणायाम से मन की शुद्धि होती है और ध्यान से आत्मा की शुद्धि होती है। आइए शुद्धि से बुद्धि की ओर और शुद्ध होकर बुद्ध होने की इस यात्रा को योग के माध्यम से हम संपन्न करें। इतना ही कहते हुए आप सबका अंतर्राष्ट्रीय योग दिवस के इस पावन अवसर पर बहुत बहुत अभिनंदन। 8वें IDY की आपको बहुत बहुत मंगल कामनाएं। ओवर टू डॉक्टर अक्षय आनंद जी।
धन्यवाद जयदीप जी, आपका इतना प्रेरणात्मक और उत्साहित लेक्चर सुन के मन गदगद हो गया, बहुत अच्छा लगा। आपका खेलो इंडिया में इतना सराहनीय कार्य जो चल रहा है वो इस मूल से ही प्रेरित है। और जो अष्टांग योग की आपने व्याख्या की, यम नियम की, वो भी उनके भी जो 5 अंग बताए वो भी हमने सुने। और ये जो थियोरिटिकल एस्पेक्ट्स है, पतंजलि सूत्र से आया है, घरेण संहिता से आया है, हठ योग प्रदीपिका से आया है, इसीलिए आपको हमने आमंत्रित किया था कि इसकी तरफ भी थोड़ा हमारा ध्यान जाए। और जो आपने रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस के बारे में टाइप 1 डायबिटीज की बात की और ऐसे ही और कुछ जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स की बात की, वहाँ एपिजेनेटिक इफेक्ट्स क्या है इस पर हम ध्यान करेंगे, चर्चा करेंगे। और अगर आवश्यक हुआ तो हम इस पर रिसर्च भी शुरू करेंगे, और आपका इसमें सहयोग होगा तो और भी अच्छा होगा, आपका कोलैबोरेशन होगा तो और भी अच्छा होगा। अब ज़्यादा बात को आगे ना बढ़ाते हुए आपका धन्यवाद देते हुए मैं आमंत्रित करूंगा, आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट डॉक्टर जी.डी. पुरी, our revered Dean of Academics at PGI Chandigarh. Professor G.D. Puri is an acclaimed, reputed anesthesiologist. He was also there in the morning along with our director and other senior officials of PGI at Zakir Hall. He's also got a patent to his name and is an innovator. Besides being an MD, is also a PhD. I invite and request Dr. G.D. Puri to give his concluding remarks to the faculty, staff, students, as well as to the speakers. Over to Dr. G.D. Puri.
नमस्कार, मॉर्निंग, इवनिंग, डिपेंडिंग ऑन आप किस क्षेत्र में हैं इस दुनिया के। I thank you first of all, Dr. Our director, for encouraging the team of yoga trainers, the team led by Dr. Akshayanand, to organize this day in a very wonderful way. We started very early, and I'm sure the whole day is going to be beautiful. And I thank you, Dr. Sara from Harvard. I'm really impressed the way she presented the hard facts. I'll say the way Dr. Jaideep ji tried to convince the people, convince the audience by giving the clinical evidence of decrease in the diabetic drug requirements, as well as the improvement in the blood pressure of the patients or the people who have been using this yoga, whether it is yoga asanas or meditation. It was wonderful to know insight into both hard evidence of which is supported by MRI as well as the biomarkers, and the clinical evidence which is supported by the decrease in the requirement of the drugs. And we have seen ourselves that using the yoga, using these meditation practices, using the deep breathing exercises, using this pranayama, we have been able to not only decrease the medicine requirement, but also by decreasing anxiety. Actually, it is just the neurological outflow of the brain which is being controlled by this mind, the meditation as well as the yoga. And as our what the director said, it's a science, a super science. I'll just little differ from him. Normally, where the science ends, the religion starts. Initially, the people were thinking the yoga as sort of a religion, but I think slowly the people have started thinking that this is a science, because every aspect of it is being proved now in the labs and in the clinics and in the various evidence which today we have shown by our researchers. And I'm sure that all the people who have attending this, who attended the morning session as well as now this lectures, they have been benefited a lot by the knowledge shared by Dr. Sara and Dr. Jaideep Arya, how they not only decrease the stress, and it's never late. It's never late. The fluid intelligence, how the concepts of fluid intelligence has been introduced by Dr. Sara. It's never late to start meditation, to start yoga, and not only decrease the thinking power of the brain, but also improve the thinking power, the cognitive sense, and whenever there's a pain, physical, emotional, or any other sort of pain, yoga is not only going to decrease it, also not only decrease actual pain by decreasing the outflow of those mediators, but also decrease the effects of that on the brain, the rest of the body physiology. With this, I must say that we must follow the principles of yoga sincerely, bringing yoga into day-to-day life, not only doing exercises in the morning, not only just doing breathing exercise in the morning, but every aspect, as Dr. Jaydeep Arya has showed us, that every work which you do throughout our day should have that yogic background, have talking to people, the patients, listening to them without, getting agitated and having the sense of calmness, meditation all the time while you are performing your activity. Thank you very much, Akshay, for giving us opportunity. And I think your center will keep growing, keep helping the people who need your help from the point of view of research support or any other training exercises, etc. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for these encouraging words. And yes, we will not let you down. Just allow me to give another 1 minute of thanks to our yoga center's colleagues, friends, and staff who've been taken their time out to put this live to you also in the morning session. Thank Director Professor Vivek Lal and your good offices for allowing us to make it happen. And we will remember these words. Let me not miss out Dr. Meenu Singh, who is the head of the telemedicine department, this center here, through which we are live streaming the entire program. And at CCR1 Center, we are identifying good research proposals which can be funded, and so that the faculty can get the resources to take these ideas from the speakers and our deans and director forward. Besides, I would also like you to kindly spare a moment to see the entire YouTube at home with your family, especially the documentary, which most of us have missed actually, and I'm sorry I could not bring it to your attention in the beginning. From 7:05 till 7:30, we played a 25-minute of documentary of all the activities that have been happening in the institute with focus on yoga and yoga research and yoga sessions. Thanks all from all of us, and thank you. Let's stay tuned and meet again International Day of Yoga, the 9th International Day of Yoga. Thank you very much.